Hey there, it's time for the United States Constitution. Just some notes to go over with you really quick to give you an overview of the document, what's there, where it's at, what it says, and what it means to you. So follow along for great fun with the Constitution. The preamble to the Constitution is essentially an introduction, just like the preamble in the Declaration of Independence. It tells the purpose of the document and the government that it's going to establish. The preamble states the expectation that the government is going to promote justice and liberty and will work to ensure the safety and security of its people and future generations. It further states that the document is officially established by the signers as the Constitution of the United States of America. So it gives an intro and it says, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. It's an important introduction. The first part of the Constitution is Article 1, and Article 1 deals specifically with the legislative branch. The legislative branch is the lawmaking body, and so we're looking at the Congress, which is the House of Representatives and the United States Senate. In Section 1, we see that all legislative or lawmaking powers are granted to the Congress, the House, and the Senate. Section 2 establishes the requirements and the terms for those members, specifically for the House of Representatives. Also establishes the census for the purpose of counting the population to determine the number of representatives that each state gets. And it also says that the House has the sole power of impeachment. So if down the road a president or other high official were to commit acts that were considered impeachable offenses, it would be the House of Representatives that would bring those charges against that individual. When you look at the actual document, especially the copy that we have access to here in class, anything that's in the document that's been changed by amendment is underlined. And in this particular section here in the actual document, you see quite a few of those items that are underlined. As they were hashing out how to figure out representation, the issue of slavery came up. And the southern states wanted the slaves to count as population for the purposes of getting them more membership in Congress. But of course, they didn't want to actually give them the responsibilities and the rights of a citizen. They still wanted to count them as property. So there was great debate related there that we can go into a little bit more later, but you'll see lines through sections of the document, and basically what those mean is that those pieces of the Constitution have been changed down the road by amendment, by the amendment process. So you'll see some of that right away here in Section 2 and Article 1. Section 3 of Article 1 in the Constitution establishes the requirements and terms for somebody that's serving in the Senate. That establishes the office of the President and the pro tempore. These are the folks who serve in leadership positions for the Senate. It also establishes that the Senate has the sole power to try all the impeachments. So up here we know that the House of Representatives, they're the House that can bring the charges, but it's the Senate that's going to actually act as the jury, if you will, if there ever were an impeachment proceeding. They also can convict with impeachment with a 2/3 majority. And the judgments can only include removal from office and or a disqualification from holding office in the future. If the party convicted is if those impeachment charges included something that might be considered criminal acts, the party that's convicted can also later face actual criminal charges in a law enforcement proceeding. So the impeachment piece of it simply removes them from office and potentially disqualifies them from office in the future, but they can still face criminal prosecution in the future if their actions warrant that. Section 4 of Article 1 establishes the elections procedure and when Congress is going to meet, how often. They meet once a year. Initially, they used to start their meetings in December, but those have been changed again by amendment, and they meet now in January. Section 5 establishes procedures for each house that's established, the Senate and the House of Representatives, how many they need for a quorum and adjournment requirements and what have you. And the Section 6 sets the guidelines for congressional compensation. Compensation is a fancy word that they're going to get paid basically for their work. It also says in here that those folks who are serving and in attendance in Congress are privileged from arrest. That means they can't be arrested while they're serving at that point. They can be arrested later. And then it also prohibits them from holding multiple offices in the federal government. If you're going to serve as a United States Senator, you can't also work for the government in some other capacity. So it kind of puts some guidelines down as far as how that works for them. Continuing with Article 1, in Section 7, this details the process of how a bill becomes law, and also notes that all bills for raising revenue, that's money, has to originate in the House of Representatives. Vetoes to any legislation can be overridden by a 2/3 vote of both houses. So if both the Senate and the House of Representatives pass legislation, say the president doesn't like it, so he or she vetoes it, when it comes back to those houses, if they are able to vote to pass it with a 2/3 vote from both houses, then that vote overrides the president's veto, and it becomes a law without the president's signature. Section 8 details the powers of Congress, and that includes the ability to tax, to borrow money, regulate commerce, establish uniform rules of naturalization and bankruptcy, etc. You can kind of read through those as you go. This piece right here is kind of important, the one in quotation marks. It says that Congress has the power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. This is Section 8, Clause 18. It's called the elastic clause. Basically, this is the catch-all. Sometimes people refer to it as the necessary and proper clause. They knew that they couldn't possibly think of every situation where Congress might need to have some sort of power over the years where this document would move forward as our country moved forward. And so this elastic clause in Section 8, Clause 18 essentially gives Congress the power to do whatever it is that they need to do to make sure that the country is moving forward as it relates to lawmaking and their lawmaking body responsibilities. So this piece right here is kind of important. That elastic clause really gives them a lot of leeway. Section 9 in Article 1 details the powers that are specifically denied to Congress. So yes, there's one where there's an elastic clause where it seems like it gives them a broad overview, but there is one that also limits their powers too, so as not to have anybody get too big for their britches. The regulation of the slave trade at the time would have been something obviously to be considered, keeping in mind that that has changed over time, so that would have been amended down the road. The writ of habeas corpus, bills of attainder, etc. No apportionment of direct taxes, no taxes on exports, etc. And you can take a look at some of those as you go. We're going to take a look next at how a bill becomes law. This is a really quick chart for you to take a look at. So laws, when they begin, start out as documents called bills, and the legislation itself, the bill, can be introduced in either the House or the Senate. Keep in mind that if it is a bill to appropriate money, to spend money, it has to originate here in the House of Representatives. So it gets introduced, then it goes to the appropriate committees, then it gets floor action there. Somebody says, yep, we think it's good, let's move it forward. If it gets passed there in the floor, at the floor action, then it moves here to a bicameral conference committee. What this means is that you get a group of people from the Senate and the House together, and they hash out the details. Almost always, the Senate will pass one version of the bill, and the House might pass another slightly different version of the bill. This bicameral conference is intended to bring those two sides together, because they can't have a bill that says one thing from the Senate and another from the House. And so it's this committee right here that hashes out the details, and they're the ones who come up with one that everybody can agree on. And then it moves again to floor action in both the House and the Senate. And if both houses pass it, then the bill goes to the president. And if the president signs it, it becomes a law. The law can also become, or the bill can also become a law without the president's signature if it is overridden. If maybe the president vetoes it, says, nope, I don't like this, it can go back here. As long as we get a 2/3 vote back here in the floor action, then the bill still can become law. The president has a certain amount of time, I believe it's 10 days, 10 business days to sign it or not. And if the bill basically sits there on the president's desk and he doesn't sign it within 10 days and neither does he veto it, then it becomes a law without his signature. That's not super common, but it can happen. Lastly here, Section 10 and also in Section 9 here, we're looking again still at Article 1, the legislative branch, and this describes powers specifically denied to the states, such as the prohibitions listed in Section 9 for Congress. It prohibits states from entering into any treaties or alliances. Those are responsibilities that are specifically designated to the federal government. So it does put some limit on states' powers here. Just to be clear for everybody as the Constitution's moving forward, remember the states' rights rights piece was a bit of an issue as we moved into kind of looking at this new document and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So there's Article 1 for you. I know it's really fast. Feel free to pause me or rewind me or whatever you got to do in order to kind of get that in your brain. But just a really brief overview of what Article 1 looks like. We'll take a look at Article 2 in the next video.